Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. So today we're going to do another hang tag video, and the reason for this is because it's time to really start putting out my spring items and crafting some spring items. And so I have mostly Christmas hang tags left, and I need to have some spring ones. So I'm going to show you some simple ways to make several of these at one time. And I'm going to start with some cardstock on this one. Obviously, you can use a number of things as your base, and I've used the little file folders. Those work well, but I'm just using regular cardstock here. And if you watched my recent videos, this is just some of the leftover rice paper after I cut out my angel image. So I'm utilizing that on this. So there were a couple of these. So I'm just taking the leftover of both of these and just covering this up. And I'm okay if it's not perfect here. If you get a little wrinkle here and there, it's fine. And as it turns out, if I try to pull that wrinkle out, if I try to pull that off too much, because this is rice paper, it would just tear. So I just kind of made that wrinkle work. And like I said, I'm okay with that. So like I said, I'll piece the other one on this one because the backgrounds are kind of similar. They don't have to match at all, but you just kind of want that kind of a similar image here. So I think I'm doing about 4 sheets here, and like I said, I'm just going to cover one side of each of these and kind of come up with a few different looks for my hang tags. But I am purposely going with some lighter, springier colors so that they'll look good with my spring decor. And I'm just piecing this, and you can use Mod Podge here. I'm just using plain Elmer's glue because it does the same thing. So you could water your glue down a little bit. I'm just doing it straight. And I think this looks better if you tear and piece it. I could do a solid one here, and but I like to have that pieced look also. So you could use napkins for this, or in this case, this is leftover rice paper. You could use tissue wrap, any kind of scrapbook paper, book pages, music sheets. There's just any number of things that you can cover these with, just whatever look that you're going for. And this next one is some tissue wrap that I'm using. And this is some tissue wrap that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. So I like using the tissue wrap because you can generally get several in it, and it's very economical. And I like in this case that it's large, and so it's a very quick cover. I just overlapped it to the back because whatever I decide to put on the back of this, and I'm putting book pages, by the way, on the back of all of these, but whatever I decide to put on the back, I won't have to use as much of, and it still will work. So this one is a napkin, and this came from my friend Myra, who sent me some beautiful napkins, and this is just one of them. So this is very springy to me, and so that's what I'm going to cover this one with. And I generally buy this by the gallon, but somehow I had several of these little small glue bottles given to me, and I think I got them from my sister, but I have so many of them, I'm just using those up first, and they're handy to kind of keep at my station here to work with. So I'm not even bothering cutting these off. I'm just kind of letting everything dry, and then I'll go back and cut it off after I cover the other side. And that's just a quicker way to do this. And as you can see here, when I can't separate a napkin, and I don't know if I mentioned, but anytime that I'm decoupaging with napkins, I remove all layers except for the layer with the image on it. And if you have trouble with that, sometimes they're hard to separate. There's 2 to 3 layers, and sometimes they're hard to separate. So if you'll just put a piece of tape on the back layer, it'll pull that away from your layer with the image. And that's just, for me, the easiest way. I think a viewer told me about that very early on, and it is the perfect way to separate your layers. Now, you could use a large book page on this if you had a book page as large as you needed. But I'm just tearing these up and piecing them because I like that pieced look. And I like to take my my words and put them in different directions. Again, that's just a matter of preference. But like I said, you don't even have to use book pages. I wanted to use something neutral on the back of these. And so the book pages was just a very neutral look that would work with each of these. I got lazy and neglectful through the holidays, and just seemed like there was so much going on that I didn't get a lot of my tags on, and actually didn't even get a lot of my pricing done. And that's kind of the area that I struggle with the most, I think. I get my items done and then get in a hurry and get them put out because I have another project that I'm starting on. And you would think that pricing would be a very simple thing, but for me, it kind of gets away from me, and people know that's just what I struggle with. But I'm very aware that I need to get much better with this. So as you can see here on this one, the tissue wrapped to the back, so I only had to cover half of it. And I know that I'm wasting a lot here when I'm tearing, but I have so many of these books that I've used the book jacket on, or the book jacket was damaged, and so I just have so many books. I don't go very sparingly with these. But like I said, I'm going to cover all of these with the book pages, and then I'll let all this dry, and then once I've let it dry, then I'll just take my scissors and trim up next to the cardstock, and then I'll have a good base for all my hang tags. So now that I have all these trimmed up, then I'm just using my little paper cutter here, and I am just going to cut up a bunch of these. And I don't measure. I just try to cut up different sizes, and that's really all that I'm doing. It really depends on the project that you're putting it on as to what size you need it. And obviously I don't know what project these are going on, so I'm just going to cut up several sizes, and then I can then I'll just pick what size I need depending on the image that I'm going to put on it. Now for this one, I purchased these little images of Victorian ladies on Amazon, and I'll include that link if you're interested in something like this. They actually come with several sheets and different sizes. These are the smaller ones, so I felt like these would be perfect for the hang tags. And I'm going to use the ones of these that have the colors that are in this paper. And I'm going to be applying them to the other side that has the book pages. And what that will do is kind of marry my two, the front and back together, and it'll just give it a lot better look. So I'm just going to get all these cut up, and then I'll be able to just start adding art to them. And like I said, I'm going to be giving each of these a different look, but trying to keep keep spring in mind. And now after I get all these cut up, then I'm going to take my antiquing ink and my little blending tool, and darken all these edges. I just feel like that gives it a more finished look, and don't forget to do that on the back as well. And I've had questions about this little blending tool, and you can get these on Amazon. They're not very expensive at all. I think you get a couple of these and then several of the little pads, and it seems like they're not over 10 or 11 bucks. It really is a good value because I use mine all the time. And this reminded me that I had a viewer ask about my circle punch that I had, and I had thrifted this at Carm, and they said that they were having trouble getting something that cut. I'm not using it on this project, by the way, but that cut through the layers that they needed. And so this one is very sturdy and cuts well, and they were wanting to know the brand of this, and so that was Paper Shapers. So that's the brand, and they come in different colors depending on the size and shape. But that one, I thrifted it, and I keep forgetting to show that. But like I said, it's called Paper Shapers. Now I'm taking a regular hole punch here, and I know that there are hole punches for hang tags that maybe make a little bit smaller hole. I like this size because a lot of times I'm using lace as the string to this, or some sort of string that wouldn't normally go in those little holes. So I like to use a regular hole punch. And this one here is getting very dull, so I'm going to have to replace it. So for these particular tags, I'm taking some of these images, like I said, that I felt like they had the colors that was in this particular napkin, and I'm just going to tear them out. But first, I'm taking a little paintbrush with some water on it, another tip from a viewer, and just kind of outlining where I want to tear that. And if you let it sit for just a few seconds, or maybe a few more seconds, then it tears very easily, and then you won't be as likely to tear into your image, and it's just a lot easier way to tear these. And then I let them dry a little bit before I antique around the edges, because I am going to be antiquing around the edges of these little images. And as I said before, I've chosen the images that go with the colors that I used in that napkin, and I'm gluing them on the book page side. And obviously you don't have to do the Victorian ladies like I did. You can just use what you have. I'm just, like I said, trying to stick with more springy colors, and I'm doing these because I'm going to use these in my shabby chic area, and I just felt like these would be perfect for that. And I don't think hang tags are limited at all to items that you're selling, because I just think they give your items, or most of them, a better look. And there's been times since I've started doing my hang tags that I'll have an item for sale that doesn't have one, and I'll have a customer ask me to make one or add one. So, and it may even be an item that they're just keeping for themselves. So I think the look is kind of what we're going for here. Otherwise, we could just stick a price sticker on it and be done. But also, I think these can be used as gift tags, just by putting to and from on the back, maybe even leaving the back blank and doing to and from on it. So if you don't have a booth or store, then I still think these would be useful. So like I said, I'm just going through and gluing all these on after I've antiqued the edges, and then I will add the strings. And on this one, the strings that I'm going to be using is, for the most part, I'm using lace, because I feel like that will lend well to this type of tag. and I'll just kind of use different colors depending on the colors in the lady's dress. And most of this lace is not lace at all. It's cut up, or lace trim at all rather, but it's just cut from maybe a curtain panel or something like that, or maybe even a wider lace that I've cut thinner. So I try to utilize a lot of scraps with this because you don't want to have too much money in your hang tags. So, as I said in the title, this is going to be part 1 of my hang tags because I'm doing several here, and so I thought I would do this style on this one and then save the other ones for my next video. I was kind of doing my editing, or I am doing my editing, and realizing that it's just going to be too lengthy if I try to make it one video. So, like I said, I'm just going to, tomorrow probably, if I can get to the editing, tomorrow I'll post part 2 of the videos, of the hang tag video, and I'll do the rest of them on that one. So once I get all the lace on these, then I wanted to add a little something extra. These are simple, and I wanted to make them a little more interesting. So I'm just taking a script stamp. This is one that I use a lot and I've had for a very long time, and just stamping a little bit of script on the front and the back. And where you place that is completely up to you. I just kind of went with what I felt like looked best on each one of these. And for the most part, I just kind of stamped it underneath the lady and then across the back. So this is just a quick way to add more interest to your hang tags. And so if you don't own a little simple script stamp like this, it's almost like a postal stamp, but it isn't. If you don't have one of these, I feel like that's a good purchase to make. It's well worth the money, I think, because for one, these are not very expensive, but also it just makes a really big difference, and I really, really use these, especially this particular one I use a lot. So now I'm just going to show you through some of these tags and finish the video that way. And like I said, I'm going to be adding more tomorrow. And I also wanted to mention that I'm going to go ahead, I think, and start early, not just on my spring, because this is not early for getting the spring decor out even, but I'm going to start really working on some of that, but also some of my Easter crafts, because you know, it's just that time, especially if you have a booth or a store, that you really need to start making it. It may not be time to put it out, but it is time to start making it and getting it stocked and ready to put out. As you can see here, that little stamp made such a difference on these tags. Otherwise, they would have been somewhat plain. But that little bit of script really helped. And a lot of times you don't have to purchase the little images from Amazon or wherever you can find them. A lot of times I'll cut these out of books. So if you look up on a book that has some of these types of images, then you can just use that. And I wanted to thank Debbie, one of my viewers, who came to visit me on Saturday. It was just so nice to visit with her and get to know her in person. I just love it when you guys stop by. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.